Events are now triggering other events. This is a cascading failure that we haven't seen in quite a while. The dominoes have been set up and they are starting to fall. We're going to be talking about specific examples of how this is happening in today's time in different scenarios, in different parts of our lives. This is super, super important to be talking about because we are seeing these crises starting to impact more and more things. The bridge collapse in Baltimore is now impacting the city of Baltimore and the whole state of Maryland, not just from a supply chain issue, but systemic collapse in their financial systems as well. Let's jump into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, but I'm coming to you from a place in the world where the sun actually does shine. And so I got a little extra sun. Sorry about that. You can just pretend like it's the lighting, though. It hurts a little bit, but it'll go away in just a short little time. I'm working on my tan. This is how Irish people tan. We burn and then it turns into a tan. Anyway, it turns into freckles. That's what it actually does. It turns into freckles. So for those of you who are still wondering where we are, I'm actually going to talk about that tomorrow in my newsletter. If you haven't already signed up for the newsletter, there's so many good reasons to sign up for my newsletter. It's free. You can always unsubscribe anytime you want to. It comes out Saturday mornings. It's down in the pinned comment. Just click on the link. If you haven't been getting them every Saturday, you've probably been unsubscribed. You might want to just go ahead and subscribe again. Thanks so much for all you guys out there. When I mentioned how Biden's administration made it so that because of the rules that they've just put in place for contract workers that I've lost, I've had to let go all the folks that are with me on the team, and it has now just become me. A whole bunch of you have come out of the woodwork to volunteer to help, and I have been not only surprised but really humbled by your offers and everything. I'm traveling, so I'm not really able to kind of figure anything out like that right now. That was part of the issue, was just time pressures and stuff like that. I'm not sure where we're going to go, whether hiring some employees, because that's a big step there. You're supposed to have some. You're making promises, right? Long-term promises. And with YouTube, I mean, is there really anything like that? But for those of you who volunteer to help with the newsletter, help with other ways, like I said, I'm just so humbled by you guys, and for all of you guys helping out with the sending in updates and everything like that. This has really truly become an amazing community that is truly accomplishing things. Sharing that information, as I said, store shelves is our practice run. We're sharing important information, but we're going to have to share even more important information in the future. And we've seen this transition from the pharmacy shortages, right? Sharing information regarding that has been something that we were already ready to do. We just moved right into sharing information on the pharmacy hack that helped save lives, I believe, on this channel. And so that is super big. We're truly having an impact in the world, and as the world gets crazier, information will become even more valuable. I've gone down that road a little too far, but anyway, I'm going to have to do the newsletter and some of the other stuff myself for a while. It'll be good, and honestly, managing other people is not my super best strength anyway. Communicating with you guys and reading the news and aggregating information and everything like that, that's what I feel like I'm good at. So I just want to kind of keep on doing that. And if we don't have peripheral stuff like websites and all that kind of stuff like that, who cares, right? Let's just keep doing what we're doing, building a community together. So what was I talking about with the dominoes thing, right? So we have periods of building structure where choices of many, many people over years and leadership leads to moments of collapse. And that is because the excesses, the bad decisions, the corners that are cut, right? It's like a building. When you're building a building, if you have some of the workers that are cutting corners, the structural integrity of the building becomes compromised. And it's not going to slowly come down. A skyscraper doesn't slowly fall down. It comes crashing down hard because as one load-bearing pillar goes, it puts more weight on the other load-bearing pillars, and you just start seeing this systemic collapse throughout the whole structure. And that's what we're seeing with society right now. These periods of time, these turnings, as some would call them, or these times of crisis, or the war and peace cycle, or the financial boom and bust cycle. There's so many examples of these systems that start, they normally normalize, right? You have like a hurricane that comes in and devastates an area of the country, and you have all these Christian organizations and other nonprofits coming in that come and help people, and the communities come together and they say, you know what, it's not right that this person's house has been destroyed. So what we're going to do is we're going to gather together, we're going to help that person rebuild, because that's what's the right thing to do. There's just normalizing forces. Why are they doing this? Because they're trying to get the area back to normal. And our bodies do the same thing. We get sick, our body starts trying to bring us back to normal. We have the same thing in the financial system. When you have a bust cycle and all these businesses that were just being run inefficiently go out of business, they have all these assets, they have these buildings, they have all these machines, that and everything like that. Someone else can step in and say, you know what, I can actually do that more efficiently than they did. They didn't do it efficiently. I'm going to be more efficient, I'm smarter, I'm better, I'm harder working, I'm willing to work for less money. Whatever it is that their competitive advantage is that they bring to the table, they revolutionize the business and they make it profitable where before it was unprofitable. And that's what we see, the bust cycle. Out of the ashes rises the phoenix of another boom cycle that's even better. And that's why it's bad that we've been postponing the bust cycle. And we have all these zombie corporations out there who aren't really making money. On paper they might be, but really they're just borrowing more and more money. And that's not healthy for anybody. And the same thing with government. Our government deserves to be in the bust pile, right? It should be just, the whole thing should be thrown out. And politically, economically, financially, and geopolitically, you see these cycles where the boom and the bust happens. And we're at the bust cycle. And the thing is that our financial system is moving into bust cycle. Global war and peace is moving into bust cycle. And you look at our political situation in the United States, it's just absolutely devastating, right? There's a lot of people in the United States who are going to go to the polls in November, and they're going to vote for anybody other than Trump. I probably shouldn't even word it like that. They will vote for anything other than Trump. They will vote for a potato rather than Trump. It doesn't even need to be sentient. It just needs to be something that's not Trump. There's going to be some people that are going to vote just because there's a D behind their name. There's going to be some people who are going to vote just because there's an R behind somebody's name. There's going to be some people who are going to vote for Trump and they're not going to vote for anybody else. And if Trump's not on the ballot, they're never going to vote again. We have polarized sides of our political spectrum, and compromise really isn't in the cards anymore. Both sides are moving towards where they're purging all of the political people who are trying to make cross-aisle deals and everything like that. The Republican Party is right now getting ready to purge Speaker Johnson for crossing the aisle and getting more Democrats than Republicans to pass this monstrosity of a spending bill. That's exactly why McCarthy got kicked out, right? Because that's what he did. He crossed the aisle and he got more Democrats to vote for a bill than Republicans, and basically he just became the Speaker of the House for the Democrats. And it's just like, that's not what the Republican Speaker of the House is supposed to do for the Republicans, right? So what's happening over in Baltimore? So Moody's, which is a credit rating agency, they've actually said that due to this bridge collapse and the port closure, this is going to be a credit event for not only the city of Baltimore, but the state of Maryland. This means it's going to make it harder for them to borrow money. Now, right now, it's a warning, but it looks like it's going to turn into an actual credit downgrade. Now, Baltimore has already been an absolute disaster for many, many years, right? I mean, it's just The crime rates are just through the roof. Stores are shutting down. Their businesses that have been in the city for legacy periods are moving out of the city, or they're just shutting down entirely. And why is that? They're doing that because the city is an absolute disaster. It's a clown show. The only thing that's been propping up the city has been those legacy businesses and also the suburb ring around the city. But the suburbs are starting to clear out because people don't want to be part of the circus anymore. And they're moving. And people with businesses are either moving their businesses out of the city, or they are just flat out shutting them down. And this is putting more and more pressure on the financial situation. Where do they get taxes from if all the people who are actually making money don't want to live in the city? And the only people who want to live in the city are the people who aren't making money and are getting free stuff from the city of Baltimore. And we're seeing that with many other cities inside the United States too. But one of their major revenue streams was the port. And with that revenue stream gone, what happens there? The city of Baltimore is not going to be able to fund things unless they get a whole lot of money from the federal government. Now, believe you me, they probably will get a whole bunch of money from the federal government, because the federal government only does one thing well, which is disperse lots and lots of money to political allies and partisans, primarily for the Democrats, but then also for the Rhino Republicans. And so are they going to get lots and lots of money from the federal government? Probably, because that's what the government does. But these credit downgrades on their credits is pretty significant. We see the same thing with the United States. As interest rates are going up dramatically, at what point is Moody's and these other credit rating agencies going to knock on the door and say, hey, yeah, that's a problem. We're going to have to start downgrading you. And as they downgrade the credit rating of the United States more and more, it's going to start increasing the interest costs to the United States, which creates that death spiral. We have the normalizing forces within a system, but then we also have the triggering forces within the system. And as long as the triggering forces within the system, the triggering events, are spread out widely enough and are not triggering more events faster than the normalizing forces can kind of fix things, that's good. It's a normal system. But we're seeing now these triggering events are triggering more and more events faster than the normalizing forces can steady the boat, so to speak. Right? We're seeing the crisis down in Haiti is triggering more issues inside the United States. We're seeing the protests in Cuba is causing the government there to start cracking down on people more. We're seeing just one thing after the next. Over in Israel, we see the cycle of war there, right? Israel Defense Forces attack the Hamas and Hezbollah, and Hezbollah and Hamas attack Israel, and each one triggers the next round of the cycle. Now, I'm not saying that Israel started the whole thing. I'm just saying that it's a cycle, and that you could start anywhere in the cycle and just see that that's basically what's happening. And when they have peace is when the normalizing forces are happening faster and are mitigating those crises as they happen, because there's always terroristic attacks against Israeli citizens, right? And there's always Israel's out there doing stuff too that makes other people angry. And you know what? You know, there's always going to be things that make people angry. And, you know, there's just no living with certain people. There's certain people that you just can't live with no matter what. And maybe someone else can live with those people, but you know what? I don't see any other country in the world accepting any Palestinian refugees. Zero. The only people accepting Palestinian refugees are non-Muslim countries. So I'm just going to put that one on the table once again. That's been mentioned many times on other channels and everything like that too. But it really just goes to show that, you know, with the cycles and the booms and the busts, what you can do is you can see these cycles happening and you can prepare for them. And you can realize that in the times of plenty, when the system is working well, that you can prepare for the times when the system is not working well at all. I'm super eager to bring you reports about what's happening here, and you'll be starting to hear about that in the newsletter tomorrow. I believe that this is going to be a series of videos that is the most important work that this channel has done apart from the sharing the gospel and missions work and such like that. But from a news perspective, hard news, investigative journalism that nobody else has done. I think that this is super important, and I think that you're going to learn some things. You're going to get more concerned about some things, and I think that that will be really, really good. All right, friends, thanks so much for watching, but also if you want to get signed up for the newsletter, if you haven't already, it's down in the description down below. It's going to be down in the pinned comment down below. It's always in the description down below, and I'll also put right up on the screen right there. And if you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up there. Thanks so much for watching. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.